teacher go to school? And who's your dad?
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the meeting quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
Well, I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program. We're 200 today. As the world prepares to sing happy birthday to Jesus, it is also time to sing happy birthday to us. We were actually 200 a month ago. We are now 201, not in years, not even in dog years, but we have notched up 200 episodes, and this is 201. Hooray!
Yeah,
Please send cake, lawyers, guns, and money to Joel's house. If you're wondering about sending beer, don't. We're good for beer, thanks. We are grateful to our sponsor, CBCo, for making us flush with amber fluid at this time of year.
Yes, and on our 201st episode, we will look at a question that does get the noggin jogging regarding serial killers.
Yeah.
Where did they go? Has something changed? Well, I have a theory. Something did change. See, CBCo were founded in 2004 and started pumping out delicious beers to the public around that time. This almost correlates with the drop in serial killer activity and crime stats. So I think I can say quite conclusively that it was not only beer that saved us all from being sliced up in a dark alley by a Satan-worshipping incel, but CBCo specifically. Now, you too can save yourself from becoming a homicidal maniac. It's not your fault. It's a lack of beer. Just go to cbco.beer, enter CRP10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off. And think all the money you were going to spend on murder weapons, covering your tracks, eventually a KC for your stupid show trial, you can skip the whole sordid affair and just buy the damn beers. That's CRP10.
Put the
folks.
knife down.
CBCo.beer. Put the knife down.
The can. Pick the can up.
Yeah, if you want to be old school, but like these days they're probably using lasers or something. Who knows?
Axe, I think.
Yeah, machetes.
If I was going to be a serial killer,
if you were,
probably you want to use the axe.
Yeah, it's got a real charm to it.
And let's not forget that what we have been bringing to the people for 200 episodes of the Conditional Release Program ain't free. And we urge everyone to throw us a few bucks so we can keep the wolves from the door.
Yes, go to patreon.com/the Conditional Release Program. And for as little as $5 of your hard-earned cash, you can have access to all manner of behind-the-paywall stuff, including Zoom meetings with Jack and Joel, where Joel actually wears a shirt. I'm wearing one now, and I'm so angry about it. I put it on just before we started. And our Black Label podcast, literally, where we snub the defo laws a little and get stuck into bastards who deserve it. You know?
Yes, we do. So go on and get it done. We'll wait.
I'm still really angry about the T-shirt.
But we can't wait too long because it is time for the Conditional Release Program's news. Where have all the serial killers gone? It's a question that confounds criminologists. Serial murder may not be a strictly Western phenomenon, but across the US, the UK, Europe, and in Australia, serial murders have been in sharp decline since the spikes through the latter decades of the 20th century. In the US, serial murder is almost down to 1940s levels. The 1980s provided the high watermark with 698 serial murders in the US based on the date of the predator's first victims. The date of the murder of the predator's first victims. In the decade 2010 to 2019, there were 95, so down by more than 600. While serial murder has been rare in Australia, similar trends emerge. The number of Australian solved serial homicide victims by decade grew from the Second World War, reaching 23 in the 1960s and onto the apex in the 1990s of 65. In the decade between 2010 and 2019, there have been just 2.
We call that the post-CBCo era.
Possibly.
Yes. In 2020, Bradley Edwards was convicted of the murders of Jane Rimmer, 23, and Ciara Glennon, 27.
Kira.
Kira.
It's an Irish name.
But Irish,
Kira.
yeah, okay. Yeah, of course. In a judge-only trial in the Western Australian Supreme Court, Justice Stephen Hall determined Edwards was not guilty of the murder of a third victim, Sarah Spears, though he believed Edwards was more likely than not involved in her disappearance. Spears was last seen leaving a nightclub in Claremont in January 1996. Her fate remains unknown. Rimmer was abducted by Edwards in June of the same year. Her body found 55 days later. And Glennon was abducted in the early morning of 15th of March, 1997. Her body was discovered in bushland in Eglinton? 60
Eglinton,
kilometres
Eglinton,
north of Perth on April 3rd, 1997.
Yeah, this is probably, certainly in terms of conviction, this is our most recent serial murder episode in Australia.
Yep.
I'm unsure if that was included in the statistics for 2010 to 2019, which are listed as just 2. So that would account for Kira Glennon and Jane Rimmer.
Because of the conviction being in 2020.
Bradley Edwards, who's been convicted and sentenced to life in prison. But the conviction date is 2020. So I'm not entirely sure where that fits in the data.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on with the definition of a serial killer, Joel, or a serial murder.
So the accepted definition of serial murder is 2 or more homicides in distinct events over a period of time with a gap between events and where the killer's motivation is psychological or sexual gratification.
There you go.
Checks out.
Studies on the Australian experience of the phenomenon are scarce, but in 2021, 2 criminologists at Bond University published a comprehensive study of serial murder in Australia between 1820 and 2020, entitled Serial Homicide in Australia. Theories abound on the rapid rise and fall of serial murder, and the sweeping study touched on a number of them.
Of the decline, the study's authors opined, quote, more recently from 2010-2019, technology, mobile phones, social media, and greater acceptance of prostitution and deviant sexual activities available live online, where participants in these acts do not even have to physically meet, allows potential sexual predators or perpetrators to satisfy their needs without the non-consensual elements of abduction and rape previously seen.
Social media are a good thing, Joel.
Not for 16s, though.
Yes. Look, we might also add advances in forensic pathology, increasingly professional crime scene investigations, the rise of DNA evidence, and closer cooperation between law enforcement across jurisdictions in this country. Bad old days, even into the 80s. The police from one state would hold this sort of rivalry, sort of jealousy almost with other state police, and indeed our Australian Federal Police Force is a fairly young sort of device. It's hasn't been around for that long. Mm-hmm. We could also add that the advent in cities, at least, of CCTV cameras may have prevented a lot of these crimes. And another reason murder rates overall are in decline can be attributed to great leaps in emergency medical treatment, where one person may not have survived in the 1970s, they would survive in the 2020s and perhaps in the decade preceding. And one theory that cannot be easily dismissed is what's known as the lead crime hypothesis.
Ooh.
Tetraethyl lead was added to petrol by General Motors in 1921. The first gallon was sold commercially in Dayton, Ohio in 1923. The additive created higher engine compression, better performance, and improved fuel efficiencies by preventing premature ignition in combustion engines.
Premature ignition.
Lead poisoning has been chronicled back to the ancients. It almost certainly contributed to the decline of the Roman Empire, where lead pipes were used to transport water from one place to another.
Okay.
And by the 1970s, lead was understood in clinical terms to be a neurotoxin known to cause profound health impacts, including neurocognitive problems in children. There is no safe level of lead in the human bloodstream, none at all. By the 1990s, the developed world started phasing lead out. The US ceased manufacture of cars requiring lead petrol in 1996. In 2002, lead petrol was banned in Australia, but it had been phased out for a while. I remember a budget probably around about 1990, 1991. There were reductions in all other forms of petrol, but lead petrol remained high because they wanted people to, it was a bit of an incentive for people to trade their old cars in and get new ones. So over a period of time, really over the 1990s, most of the Western world, including Australia, phased lead petrol out.
So, to give an idea of the general impact of lead, it is impossible to provide a finite number, of course, but lead in petrol may be responsible for the deaths of more people than World War II across the 20th century, which is
that's 50 to 60 million people, by the way.
That's a lot, yeah. And while lead in petrol has gone, I mean, Algeria disposed of its stockpile in 2021, leading the United Nations Environment Program to declare petrol lead free globally. That was the last country standing. 1.5 million people died of lead exposure in the same year, but of course, mostly in the developing world, of course.
Yes. And in
quite
fact,
sad.
while we're talking about serial killers in this particular theory, there have been a number of serial murder events in India where lead continues to be used in machinery and certainly in agricultural machinery and others.
Yeah.
So, yes, in the West, the rise of the automobile as an almost universal means of transport took place in the post-World War II period, and by the 1960s in Australia, most families had at least one on the driveway, we might say, the 1950s for the US.
Picket fence. Yeah, so the lead crime hypothesis is not restricted to serial murder, though. The theory postulates that lead in petrol caused a rapid acceleration of neurodevelopmental disorders among children, which included emotional and psychological injury, and this was a major contributing factor in surges in all forms of violent crime, including murder, with notable spikes emerging in the 1960s, continuing until a rapid decline in the last decade of the last century. So, the after CBCo fixed everything. In respect of serial killers, of course, the lead crime hypothesis infers that iron-addled brains turn to murder for gratification. And I don't know, what, did the lead make them enjoy it more?
There's notable, we talked today about high rates of ADHD.
I got a diagnosis.
Among children. But it's likely that this huge spike actually did occur around the 1950s and 1960s and just wasn't diagnosed and going on to the 70s and may also be, in fact, be driven by lead in the atmosphere from lead in petrol.
Yeah. Look, I was born early enough to have breathed in some of these particles, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why I'm so fucking stupid. Anyway, so look, the timing does fit. Across the Western world, crime rates ballooned in the 1970s and 1980s, only to decline in the 1990s. Violent crime rates reached their pinnacle in the post-World War II period in Australia in the 1980s, a statistic often attributed to the arrival of narcotics, especially heroin, and all that jazz. Addicts turned to property crime, of course, knock over a house, get your junk, and while the traffickers just shot down the streets for the, control lucrative trade. There were a few Barneys between gangs, I suppose.
Yes, it was an emerging time for another level of sophisticated or organised crime.
Organised crime, yeah. Lots of money in it.
As with all theories, the lead crime hypothesis is not intended as a standalone causal factor, despite multiple studies showing coincidence in a compelling form. So we've definitely got correlation. We're missing causation.
There's lots of factors.
But there are lots of factors, and there will be, and we mentioned some earlier in the report.
Yeah, exactly. CBCo,
and there'll be others. The great autodidact and criminologist Colin Wilson, he died in 2013, by the way. He theorised that serial killers possessed a similar psychology to that of the monsters of history in his seminal work, A Criminal History of Mankind. Sadly out of print, listeners. A Criminal History of Mankind. Big tome, a lot of reading, and just worth your while if you can get your hands on a copy in a second-hand bookstore or something like that. He was completely self-taught. He was a novelist, but he also was very, very interested in very, very serious crime like serial killing and so forth. He basically postulated that Vlad the Impaler and Charlie Manson were psychologically sort of peas in a pod.
Yeah, okay.
And that the difference is that Vlad the Impaler was a member of the aristocracy and therefore sort of unbound by laws that would affect others, lessers, if indeed. But by the time we get to the 20th century and Manson, we have all of this sort of complex modern society stuff going on that alienates people. And someone like Manson, for example, if you understand his early development, pushes them out, makes them weird, but they are, according to Wilson, and it's a theory, cut from the same cloth, Vlad the Impaler and Charlie Manson. So,
yeah,
it's a persuasive theory on why humans commit the most awful random crimes. What's unavoidable is that serial murder is in deep decline. No doubt the reasons for it are complex and multifaceted, involving profound social and cultural forces let loose in rapidly changing human environments, some with lead and some without.
Yeah.
There are other theories around as well, more generally on crime and Freakonomics. Some of you some of our listeners will be aware that Freakonomics, in one of their published works, looked at the relationship between abortion law reform and a reduction in crime.
Yep.
And again, the timing fits. We see it in the United States with Roe v. Wade at the same time. Throughout Australia, each state was going through, at various times, abortion law reform. I can only speak for Victoria. It was completely banned. Abortion was completely banned until, I'm going to say, 1972.
Yeah, okay.
And really, abortion or pregnancy terminations were the purview of homicide squads.
Yeah, wow.
And that led to some particularly corrupt problems within Victorian police.
I'll bet.
But yeah, I mean, and again, with Freakonomics, that sort of does look, and it makes sense just at face value. Less unwanted kids, less crime, you would think.
Less little trauma victims.
So we are talking about a series of contributing factors, one imagines, and we've listed a whole line of them.
I have. I've had my theories, yep.
Lead in the atmospheric lead or lead in petrol is just another potential contributing factor.
Have you considered true crime podcasters may be responsible?
Oh no, that's
casting a light on these people.
These poor buggers won't have as much news stuff to deal with.
Oh, don't worry, they've got plenty from the good lead days. Pre-CBCo era has lots.
Yeah, well, they're going to be working the mushroom case, the mushroom murders case.
Oh, they've already done that
to death as well. I did watch. In fact, I started watching the second episode of the one that's currently running on Stan. Just the other day, and I just. It started focusing on the court and how hard it was to get a seat in the courtroom and all this sort of stuff. And I just couldn't be bothered.
No, it sounds.
I had to turn it off. Yeah. I knew all this stuff. We lived through this stuff, not so long back, only a year ago.
Yeah.
And to be reminded of it again was like, anyway.
Yes,
that's the bad news for true crime podcasters, that the rate of serial murder is down by, well, in Trumpian terms, millions of percent.
Apparently, according to my very, very enthusiastic case file listener partner, they did one on the Dread Pirate Roberts, Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road guy.
Yeah.
So I guess they're just expanding their remit. And look, I'm kind of glad that, she's listening to stories that aren't exclusively about mass murder and severe rape, because I just find that she knows too much about it. How they investigate it. I just feel like I'm a sitting duck. Anyway,
that sounds like a good pod. I haven't listened to it, but I find something a little bit objectionable to describing serial murder, and particularly around crime scenes and injury sustained and all this sort of stuff. I find it all a bit objectionable. Essentially, what we're dealing with, there are really only two groups of victims of serial killers, and they are almost always female or children. There are exceptions, of course, but the majority of victims are women.
Hey, I'm neither of those.
Yeah, well,
you
should be all right, particularly now that lead is no longer in the atmosphere, but or not as much. Look, I just find some of it a bit too voyeuristic and a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of theories. We're talking about theories abounding, but there's all sorts of theories about the digestion or the consumption of true crime. I noticed one psychologist who turns up randomly on my social media says, please don't watch true crime before you go to sleep at night.
Yes,
it's really not good for you.
Yeah.
And I said, that's kind of like wallpaper on my television. It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that leaves me psychologically injured in some way or other.
And none of those comments apply to our good dear friend Emily, who is a fantastic and responsible true crime podcaster and a beloved friend of the podcast.
I did see Emily's book in a bookstore the other day. I already have a copy of it. And Emily's Suburban Murder in the Suburbs. This is volume 2.
Suburban True Crime and then Murder in the Suburbs. Yeah, but Murder in the Suburbs, I think, is the recent one.
There was a Murder in the Suburbs volume 1, and I think this is volume 2. But,
this one was the Murder in the Suburbs volume 2. Okay, yep. Yep, good.
Yeah. So this is the
We
one
got a
that's
book
been
plug in
released.
there.
Did see it in the bookstore and thought, yes, that would be a terrific prize, although not psychologically or not recommended by psychologists.
Ooh, they have a Audible version.
Don't read it late at night. Is I think the answer
They have an
that they're
Audible
looking for.
version. And it's narrated by Emily and Fiona, but still, that's cool. I'm going to get that. I've got credits.
And now we're looking at medical recommendations of a different kind, Joel. This is the state of play in vaccines in the United States.
Yes, indeed. How fucking depressing is this going to be? So on December 4th, the Advisory Committee on Immunisation Practices met to provide ACIP, yes, exactly, met to provide recommendations on the hepatitis B vaccine, and the result was clear as mud. It's another blow to public health, clearly, in the US under Bobby Kennedy Jr., and further undermining of vaccines in the US, while measles continues to surge across North America and vaccine rates dive under his stewardship. All by intention.
Yeah, it's just in relation to where measles is at in North America. Scientific American reported on 11 December.
Yeah, so South Carolina is the epicenter of what state officials call an accelerating measles outbreak. Good. Hundreds of people are in quarantine. The outbreak has sickened at least 111 individuals, most of whom 105 were not vaccinated against the disease. The other 6 got real unlucky, but they wouldn't have got sick if there wasn't measles.
Correct. Wait.
We all know this. The rash of cases. The rash of cases.
Yeah,
Pun
that's a bit of a pun.
intended. Yeah.
Well done, Scientific American, to throw that little pun in there.
Aren't they funny? Is merely the latest in a string of measles outbreaks across the US this year. Each of these outbreaks has brought the country ever closer to losing its measles-free status after more than 25 years. Ever closer? How is it not, anyway?
Well, the Canadians have already lost theirs, so
Yes.
we'll talk about that in a minute.
Those
But back to ACIP and hepatitis B. Prior to the meeting, the previous universal hepatitis B vaccine recommendation was for all neonates to be given their first dose of the vaccine, that's hepatitis B vaccine, within 12 to 24 hours of their birth. This public health policy, which has been in existence for decades, has led to a significant reduction in disease. Between 1991 and 2019, HBV infection among children and adolescents dropped by, wait for it, folks, 99%, preventing tens of thousands of cases of cirrhosis, liver cancer, and death. The voting language for this new recommendation from ACIP reflects an almost legal language tone written by a law firm that confuses both clinicians and the public. It's not clear to medicos, not clear, and it's just like legal speak. What is clear is that parents will now have to provide consent to a healthcare provider to give the hepatitis B vaccine at or shortly after birth. Just to expand on that, that might mean the doctor says, would you like? But that doctor is not obliged to do that and may not do that if that doctor is busy on that. And so it would come down to the parents to actually say, can I have
Give me the thing.
my baby given the HPV vaccine at or shortly after birth? Without that, the vaccine will be pushed according to ACIP, pushed back. The initial dose is administered no earlier than 2 months of age. According to Sharon Nachman, MD, Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at Stony Brook Children's Hospital, the change, and this is a quote, the change in timing of the hepatitis B vaccine to infants is going to result in many more children getting infected with hepatitis B at birth. She goes on to say, Joel,
that message of deferment tells families, you don't need it now. I don't know that you need it later, and I don't know when you need it. So we are going to see children who do not get the birth dose, whose mothers are truly not infected with hepatitis B, so their risk at birth of acquiring it is 0 or close to 0.
Yeah, where might this lead? It's basically a disease time bomb, 20 years or more down the road. The paediatrician also said, Joel,
we'll be missing the identification of those infections, missing prevention, and unfortunately those children are programmed now to go on to get chronic hepatitis, cirrhosis, and perhaps liver cancers and die, and that will take 20 plus years. We will not see a change in children's health over the next 5-10 years, and that means 20 plus years from now, when that cohort of children starts getting sick, we're never going to remember who caused this damage because it's going to be lost in the annals of history, and RFK Jr. will definitely be dead.
One member of the ACIP board, we did look a fair bit at them, Joel, when it was first announced, but even since then, just in 3 months, it's been shuffled around. And one member is Retsef Levi, PhD, described on the CDC website, and I quote, as a professor of operations management at the MIT, that's Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Hard to say.
Yes. That's probably part of the screening process. Can you say the name of our school?
Their Sloan School of Management anyway. And a leading expert, so the CDC website says, in healthcare analytics, supply chain and manufacturing analytics, risk management and biologics and vaccine safety.
Oh, what a busy character.
Retsef Levi, PhD. Hey, wait a minute. Look, while there are other similarly problematic appointments on ACIP made by Kennedy, including Robert Malone, at least Malone is a medical doctor. Levi is not, and lately he's been barking on social media, calling childhood vaccines and vaccine mandates, and I quote, an immoral act against children.
Yeah,
he's on the ACIP board.
He's good at management of operations. Do you want your parcel to turn up on time? This is your man. I don't see how that doesn't turn up in vaccine knowledge somehow. The man knows tracking numbers, and that's all I need to know.
It's quite right. He's a logistician, essentially.
He's a
healthcare.
A logistician. Great. Thanks, mate. Bring my vaccine cold and free. Anyway. So, look. As they stand, vaccine mandates in the US are a patchwork of state-by-state requirements for entry into public schools, which is a pretty strong motivator to get people to get the jab. But there are medical exemptions in all states, and 45 states allow for religious exemptions, which are pretty flexible. I mean,
some of them, you can drive a bus through,
You can just fucking say anything. As we know, some states like Idaho and Florida, under the charlatan general surgeon, Dr. Joseph A. Ladapo, have recently moved to loosen or eliminate their school vaccine mandates, leading to concerns about declining vaccination rates and increased risk of outbreaks.
Ladapo ended vaccine mandates for children in Florida against preventable diseases, including measles, mumps, chickenpox, polio, and hepatitis, comparing mandates to, and I quote, slavery, unquote, and claimed the move would receive the blessing of God, another quote, because none of us really, normal people don't really talk like that.
No, they don't.
So that was obviously a quote, the blessing of God. He's a fucking witch doctor, Ladapo. And if we wanted further proof, Ladapo's wife, Brianna, believes she's a faith healer. And she believes that angels have spoken to her, and that, and I quote again, dark forces, unquote, are targeting her family with chemtrails.
Oh, my God.
She's also claimed her husband won't work with anyone she hasn't vetted.
That's not good.
That's not
not
anywhere
good.
near good.
No.
None of these people, as the erstwhile paediatrician that we quoted before, Sharon Nashman said, will ever be held accountable for the profound health impacts they make on children. They've made on children in North America just in the last 12 months.
Yeah, totally. Like, the delayed impact means that A, they'll be dead, and B,
most of them will be dead. The others,
as if they'll ever accept accountability anyway. Like, it's just,
the others, might get a cameraman and a reporter knocking on the front door, and they just go away.
Yeah, they'll just, they'll blame it on the gays. That's basically it. I mean, it's just, I don't believe in accountability anymore. The US decline is rapid. Anyway, so Canada, which is a country that we like to not associate with decline, is experiencing outbreaks of measles as a result of Kennedy's anti-vax rhetoric.
And mainly, Joel, sorry to interrupt, but
no,
mainly because the measles virus doesn't understand about the Canadian-US border.
Oh, well, that's definitely
just doesn't get it.
That's a border issue.
You drive to Seattle. You need to cross the border to go into Canada, but the virus doesn't do that.
We need to give more money to CBP and ICE in the US, and anytime they see measles, just like, papers, please. and then we'll be sweet.
Forget how fucking transmissible this disease is too. You can
Yeah,
sit
it's-
300-400 meters away from someone who's infected and get it.
Yeah, which is a terrible, terrible
They,
concept.
the Australian paediatricians talk about, there's the standard measure of things, like 50-metre swimming pools. This is the MCG. This example is you could be sitting at in one stand high above the Melbourne cricket ground, and at the other end of the sit there and now someone with measles at the other end of the ground in the stadium there can infect you.
Exactly. And look, there's a lot of talk about things like measles parties and things like that. That was chicken pox. Stop it. And you know what? If it was measles, like I remember having the whole idea of, getting chicken pox is fine, get it over and done with.
Yeah.
But I went to the doctor once regarding measles to check up, and let's face it, I was not vaccinated. And it was a very sort of concerning time because the idea of having measles was a really bad thing. No one was having measles parties, and if they were, your parents were negligent at best.
Well, it depends on your age.
Fucking idiots.
All these things were rolling out. I remember taking the polio vaccine at primary school.
Yeah.
That was the oral vaccine.
The controversial one.
Yeah. You basically piss out a bit of polio.
Yeah, piss out some plague.
It's certainly not the best way to do it. And there were some oral vaccines, or oral polio vaccines issued around Africa, which is now deemed polio-free.
Yeah.
But the only outbreaks of polio they have are related to these oral vaccines, which have been pissed out into water, pissed out into groundwater, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and cause all manner of
So they
problems.
still have outbreaks of polio, even though they're determined polio-free, but it is completely vaccine-related, Joel. Now I know where Bobby Kennedy's coming from. It's just that they use the cheap fucking vaccine.
But the injectable vaccine protects you from the strain that is derived from oral polio vaccine. So if you get the jab, you're still fine. So all they did was go around and give people the jab, and life went on. But they make out this whole thing. We've talked about this a million times. And they make, the OPV strain. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Without the OPV strain, there's just polio. So shut the fuck up. Anyway, it's pissing me off.
Anyway, Canada's experiencing some problems, Joel.
They are indeed. They're experiencing outbreaks of measles. And this is the issue because they're especially vulnerable because Canada's measles vaccination rates for young children have dropped from a fairly comfortable state of 90% in 2019
not great.
to 82 to 83% in
Which is
2022, 2023. That's bad. And this is significantly below the 95% needed for actual herd immunity. So the country's wide open and it's lost its measles-free status earlier this year. And yeah, it's Canada's help.
Canada would have its own problems, and there obviously is a significant anti-vaccination movement that's driven down adoption rates of measles vaccines, and now they're at 82, 83. This is where kind of we were in Australia before the Abbott government, good on your tone, brought in the no jab, no pay.
Yeah. Apparently that had a huge impact on the Northern Rivers.
It did. And we were in the 80s in Western Australia. That's why they acted, actually. And it was fucking good government. Well done, Tane.
Yeah, good.
Well, it's one of the things they just acted on. And you still hear cookers talking about it. The tyranny of it.
Yeah.
But it had a pronounced effect on people signing up for vaccines.
Well, I'm heaps vaccinated because I got mine like 10 years ago. So
yeah, well, you can play now.
Yeah.
You can play with the other children now, Joe.
Good. It's all I ever wanted.
Yeah, look, all of this stuff, the ACIP stuff, all of the anti-vax rhetoric coming from Kennedy's denizens. There's another one who's been babbling on in the background there with anti-vax rhetoric up the wazoo. You've got members of ACIP, openly dissuading people from having their children vaccinated. It's a really dangerous thing. And we've just seen on the figures in Canada and measles, you've got very low rates of measles vaccination in Florida for a start now. Well, right now, before the mandate's gone. So they were in the high 80s.
Florida.
They're just wide open. But the real thing, as we just said, 20 years from now, when all these health impacts are felt, we might see a few children die of measles, but the ones who are infected, about 1 in 1,000, stand the chance of premature death, and horrible premature death, by the way. And others will develop conditions as a result of that primary infection that will shorten their lives.
It's really not good.
It's not good. But the problem is no one's ever going to pay for this, No one's ever going to have to pay for this. I mean, we talk about Elon Musk and who's going to kill more people, Kennedy or Musk. Well, Musk is out there early with an estimated 900,000 people, including 300,000 children.
It's pretty good.
And this was a figure a month ago, based on people who are in Africa who are now denied AIDS medications.
Yeah. And they gutted the programs to a point where they can't just be cheaply and easily reactivated by other organizations. They just killed them.
We can look at, we were talking about serial killers before. I mean, if you want to look at the monsters of history, your Stalins, your Maos, there's not an American on it.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk is South African.
Well, I guess we could also talk about the inventor of lead, the man who worked, I can't think of his name, but the man who worked for General Motors who developed lead in petrol.
Yeah,
he's probably responsible for quite a few if you really wanted to take it that far. But yeah, I mean, this is where you stand. Vaccines in the United States are just going to go backwards. It's probably not going to affect you or I or our children. What it's going to impact on is public health in the United States and more broadly in North America, which may or may not include Mexico, depending on your geographical outlook.
I would say in a couple of years' time it won't. So there's that.
Central America, surely. Anyway.
No.
All right. Well, here's a little bit of stupidity. If we needed proof of how broken things are in the Trump administration, we can look no further than Marco Rubio, U.S. Secretary of State, former Trump critic, by the way.
Yes.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio directed U.S. diplomats around the world to switch from Calibri to Times New Roman 14-point font.
Very important.
And all official documents starting last Wednesday. The State Department said in a statement to National Public Radio, that's US NPR. The difference between the two fonts comes down to a few finishing strokes. It's really not very much. It's very silly.
It's really not a big deal. So here's a quote from the statement that says, whether for internal memoranda, papers prepared for principals, or documents shared externally, consistent formatting strengthens credibility and supports a unified department identity.
But 14 points, that looks like 14. If you receive a letter in 14-point font, it's presumed that you've got a learning disability.
Yeah, like
we're
your
going to
eyes
have to
are
put the big letters up for you.
Yeah. It's like that's, and it's so because that got straight past me, and then I saw your notes there, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good point because we're doing this in 11-point,
I know,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
So
12 is difficult. If anyone sat down and wrote in 12-point font, whether it's Times New Roman, Calibri's a little smaller.
You can't fit much on the page.
You're going to hit the end of the page pretty quickly.
Everything about this just screams Trump. Done. I don't like long sentences. I don't like sentences. I don't like words. Let's make it big so it's easy to read.
14 points. 14 points and put some illustrations in, So, if you've got any photos, got any pics, just give us so we can skim.
It's going to make it very tricky. Because,
14 point.
Apparently Trump reads everything on paper as well. So all of these 14-point missives are going to be printed out, and whether he reads them or not, he's famous for ripping them in half. So it's just more torn paper.
Well, it might be the source of the change, Joel. He's just looked at Calibri and just got, I am appalled. This is a girlish, gay even font.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see it again. I never want to see it again. Times New Roman, and can you make the font at least 14?
Exactly. And when they kick back, you just say, bigger font. Bigger
For all
font, little
those
marker?
who haven't worked in the biz, magazines, papers, etc., Calibri is a sans serif font, meaning it doesn't have the decorative tops and tails at the ends of letters that serif fonts like Times New Roman do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, look, let's put some blame onto this though. The reason why this entire thing has happened is because of the previous woke Secretary of State Antony Blinken in 2023, who did this in a classic case of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. You know what? Calibri is gay.
Let's make this is in the Biden administration. They wanted gay fonts.
Gay fonts.
Everything gay. Lots of flourishes. No, it's actually different. It's actually less flourish in Calibri.
Do you reckon the font is also black? Because that sounds like diversity to me, and we need to knock that right off. All Times New Roman will be in grey. Actually, no, we'll do white font. It'll be perfect. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Black page. White font. Oh no, hang on. No, look, it's that's
Idiots.
tougher. You can go the fonts, but the colour, it gets tricky. It gets really, really tricky.
I still think it's all racial.
Look, no one will die over this. I mean, it is just impossibly silly that they've changed all of this.
It's incredibly stupid.
I used to write in Times New Roman all the time, 20 years ago, and I moved on to Calibri just because it's an easier font, really, to look at after a while.
You also became a massive gay.
As I became more and more gay, I went to Calibri. I mean, really, they should be using Comic Sans, Joe, at the US State Department.
They absolutely should. That is the only solution to any of this. And to be fair, I would say the shit they're pumping out is probably more appropriate for Comic Sans than ever before.
It's got to be Comic Sans, at least for now. And look, and if JD Vance pops up in the Oval Office behind the desk there, could revert to the Cyrillic alphabet.
Yeah, I think that's quite plausible.
Well, they love Russia that much. Couldn't they start using the Cyrillic alphabet? I know it's not a font; it's an actual alphabet.
Well,
but maybe they should start. It'll make it a lot easier for Russian spies.
Yes, which I must say,
bringing it in the mother tongue.
When it comes to the Witkoff angle, I think that's pretty much part of the plan. Anyway, what a weird time.
It's just a weird time to be alive, isn't it?
It's real dumb.
It really is just a bit silly. All a bit silly. It doesn't cost anything really, because most of these, it'll be documents, definitely, only printed in Times New Roman, but all of them will be sent by email, or it can all just be jumbled up anyway.
Completely fucking pointless.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
all right, moving on.
On we go.
Cows have fucking masks on.
Everybody is up for the high jump if they deserve it. If they deserve to hang, they will hang.
Rise up, Australia. Men of Australia, time to step up and be real men. Protect your kids or go down biggest cowards this country has ever seen. Hang that animals.
In the wake of the Nazi-infested March for Australia rallies, a new Nazi-free alternative with a more casual racism and slight conspiratorial bent was being offered by our very own Monica Smith.
Hooray.
It's a great product. It's one I feel comfortable buying.
It's more mainstream.
So the original March for Australia on August 31st saw violence in Melbourne involving a vicious attack on unsuspecting victims in Camp Sovereignty, which is a sacred space held by First Nations people at King's Domain in Melbourne. And charges are being laid. 14 lads have been identified by the court, which will likely lead to some awkward conversations with family and employers. What a shame. Generally speaking, Melbourne kicks off a little bit harder than Sydney with this sort of stuff. And even Brisbane, the one that we've all blamed for various political things and, the home of Joe, Melbourne goes harder. But what happened here was truly an escalation of things, really. It was bad.
Yes, it's good to see that at least Victoria didn't apply any suppression orders to the 14 blokes charged.
Oh, no. Right?
There have been some controversies there. And what is it? Victoria has more suppression orders than the rest of Australian jurisdictions combined.
Yeah, okay.
Not good.
Yeah.
None of that good. But the 14 lads who've been charged, 14 boys who've been men, who've been charged include, I guess you'd say, some predictable names, but there are some others there that are well worth examination.
Yes, I think that's what's going to happen over the coming days, and I feel no sympathy. Now, in Sydney, we saw Beck Freedom, organiser of the MFA there, who's definitely not a Nazi. Just ask her. She was handing the big banner that Jesse ordered from the internet to some lovely fellows in high vis who Joel Davis clearly identified as out-of-uniform Nazis. Oh, man, they're not subtle. This was all, of course, captured on video and led to a fairly sad and unconvincing gaslighting campaign from Frau Freedom that the rally organisers had no idea that the neo-Nazis were to appear, and there was no collusion between the two groups. Don't believe your lying eyes, because what I tell you is true. By the way, have you heard what Blair Cottrell has to say in the Noticer? It's very poignant, but I'm not a Nazi, you fucking idiot. Look, we're not going to cover this in detail. We've already discussed this at length. It's just good to freshen the memory of, like, you know, the past events sort of led up to this. So in Sydney, we had the first March for Australia. It had about 15,000 attendees, according to police, and the second one had about 5,000. So you might feel nice to know that it's not going well. But in Melbourne, where there's usually, like, you know, people tend to turn up. The first
love
MFA
it in Melbourne. Normally love it. Love to get out in the fresh air.
Well, yeah, it's a good excuse to kick off. So the first MFA had an estimated 5,000 people, which plummeted to 800 in the second incarnation. How embarrassing. That's not good.
Beck Freedom made it clear that Nazis were welcome to the latter MFA march, but they politely declined the invitation, claiming they plan to focus their attention on a future rally on January 26th. Do you think they'll be for Australia or for Australia Day on the 26th or against, Joel?
To be fair, I don't even know by then, because they'll be so upset about something. They'll be like, you know what? Fuck this country. We actually don't like it anymore.
This is probably what kicked them off to become Nazis, you know.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Too many digital IDs.
January 26th is, as anyone knows, when we celebrate the establishment of a British colony in New South Wales. That's
what could possibly have gone wrong? I can't think of anything that went wrong.
Look, the first rally did have a ton of mainstream media coverage, which essentially became free advertising for the event, and this would explain the large turnout, possibly. The second rally had to rely mostly on social media activity to attract participants.
Yeah, and see, Elon Musk, who is an idiot, claimed there was no mainstream media coverage. He actually said NSM because he's an idiot. No coverage at all. And the reason for its success, the only reason for its success, drawing 100,000 people,
he's got him at his 100,
was due to posts on his social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. And none of this vaguely even resembles reality. This is the richest man on earth who thinks that 100,000 people turned up. There was no mainstream media. He's a fucking idiot. Look, I'm just saying, man, like 2025, I'm tired.
It's been beautiful. And 2026, really shows no change. I mean, look, there will be change from Elon Musk, but it at current rate, it will be even crazier. Probably just a little further to the right.
Probably even worse. He's
clambered over Genghis Khan, and he shows no sign of stopping.
I feel like he really just skipped the lead from the air and just went straight to eating the paint off the walls. Anyway,
he has been eating a lot of paint chips.
What
when
a
he
real
was a kid.
sack of shit. So look, Monica, who's always had a keen eye for a gap in the market, saw an opportunity to present a rally that opposed the idea of mass migration, but had no Nazis. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, at least there was the promise that the organisers would not blatantly collude with Nazi groups and then deny it for the sake of optics. But, it's all sweet. It's all sweet. Don't worry about it. Yeah, sweet. Good. So she did all the right things. She put Australia first. She called it that. How apt. I thought that was a bit of a coincidence because that happens to be the line used by lobby group Advance Australia. Put Australia first. Yeah.
Surely just a coincidence.
I thought I was so fucking smart. And then I read Frank Chung's article on news.com.au and he's like, oh yeah, no, Advance is supporting it. I'm like, oh, I thought I connected dots. Apparently that's common knowledge.
Been going on for a while.
Oh, well.
Under the radar.
Look, I still think I'm really smart. So she went on Ben Fordham and appealed to the mainstream. She laid out her case and she explained the idea of Nazi-infested open mic in front of 20,000 people was a ridiculous concept and would not happen at her rally. Of course not. Ridiculous. This speaker lineup is Nazi-free, guaranteed. 100%.
And there were no Nazi speakers, but
Credit.
there certainly weren't 20,000 people.
No.
And while the event was primarily targeting immigration reform, Smith couldn't help herself and included some cooker tropes to get the riffraff in. On 2GB with Ben Fordham, she said, we've broadened the issue.
Good.
So we've got 3 main points,
3.
which is immigration reform.
Tick.
Put the thumb out there. The second one is freedom from an enforced digital ID, index finger.
Yeah.
And thirdly, affordable energy. So
Good.
broadening the topic means that more people can get involved, more
Great.
politicians can support it, and
Good.
also the messaging is a lot more mainstream, which she
They're-
pronounces as mainstream.
There are 3 things I'm deeply concerned about. So there were 2 events here. There was one in Sydney on Saturday, 29th of November, and one in Melbourne the day after, proving that Perth is always going to get shafted. Adelaide means nothing to anyone. And Brisbane, you're vulnerable too. Yeah.
Dead to us. Adelaide, dead
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah, they did get dedicated tool concerts though. So, I mean, they didn't lose everything. Fuckers. So, look, when it comes down to it, we had a star-studded lineup. In Sydney, One Nation candidate Stuart Bonds showed his versatility by speaking at this rally after having spoken at the last one. You know, the one with all the Nazi boys in attendance in their yachting gear?
Yeah.
In their Sunday
Kind of a
yachting
bit of a line
vest.
cross there, but anyway.
Yeah. And we had lovely Snarky Gherkin posting a crowd estimation shot that estimated approximately 299 participants.
Well, that's not great.
Yeah, it's not great. Apparently in Melbourne, the estimation was 700. Good.
They're broken 4 figures.
Yeah, I feel like I could probably get that.
Why have they
myself.
left Adelaide out, Joe? Why have they left Adelaide? Adelaide could have been good for 150.
But they had a tool concert lined up. They don't
Good
need this
social
shit.
media campaign.
Yeah, it's. I mean, maybe Adelaide's just not racist enough. Who knows? So Jacinta Price was the first speaker to be scratched from the list, despite Monica loudly but cryptically expressing excitement of her involvement, publicly stating they would need extra security due to a controversial big name speaker with she/her pronouns. So we figured it was Price, and she could not be named for safety reasons, which is very exciting. Safety.
Well, how do we know it was Jacinta Price?
We all know now. It's
was it a guess, really? Or do we not know?
No. She was lined up and she pulled out. And when she was confirmed, Monica was like, shit, this is amazing. And then was like, I'm not going to talk this anymore. Anyway.
Monica, that is, still managed to draw some big names for the punters, mostly for the event in Melbourne, which featured Pauline Hanson.
Ooh, fancy.
In person.
Oi.
And a pre-recorded video she would have got the steaks out. You see her grilling up steaks for Barnaby and herself, and a couple of bits of Wagyu on a fucking sandwich press in her office in Canberra.
Oh, did she actually do that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was so cringe. It was really, and just a terrible desecration of very fine meat.
But did you see like the original thing, which is that the staffer was cooking sausages on the sandwich press, and she made this weird point about how clever it was. Like she's never cooked like a hash brown or bacon on a sandwich press. She's a fucking idiot. And also just highlighting the fact that her staff have no cooking facilities, despite having a giant office and a big kitchen, which is just such a weird, negligent thing.
Yeah, they've got a kitchen, and for some reason they've got a sandwich press, and they think it's a George Foreman grill.
There's nothing else there. They are forced. Anyway, the whole thing was not a flex. It was so fucking embarrassing.
Down. No, she definitely mutilated two very fine pieces of Wagyu for Barnaby. Bit of salad. They saw Barnaby and she was chowing down, eating it. It was like, ooh.
Why are you like this?
So Pauline was there, with or without the sandwich press, and a pre-recorded video from anti-Muslim activist and general racist thug in between jail sentences, Tommy Robinson.
Yes. Hopefully he'll be going back.
He turned up
soon.
there with his big, his tiny little tennis ball head.
Yeah.
He really has got a tiny head, that man. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's something a bit suspicious about the size of his head. I don't want to bring in. The Nazis were
big on the head measuring.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, into a bit of the phrenology. They dabbled, most definitely. So Tommy, he might be the one true boss because he's got the tiny head that shows sort of utter perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. What could possibly go wrong?
So Tommy there, to cut a short story long, Tommy and Pauline Hanson have both fronted at Monica's rally in front of about, as far as we can tell, about 800 people.
Why read it in 5 seconds when you can make a minute out of it? That is truly hamburger helper. Thank you very much. Chuck some flour in it and call it doubled. So the underhand, that is a Freudian slip, featured Monica's ex-fiance Morgan Jonas, who's dropped the C from his name. Maybe because he's started taking vitamin C. He looks way less scurvy-like. But, who knows?
That's a relief.
It's nice to see they're on good terms. That's really mature. It's really nice. Opportunists to continue to use each other post-relationship. During her speech, Hanson declared that she would personally deport any migrant to Australia who failed to give the nation...
Drive them out to the airport.
Literally, here's the quote.
I am not against anyone who wants to come here and give this country their undivided loyalty. If you don't, I'll be the first one to take you to the airport and put you on a plane.
Do you reckon this is a good gimmick for
really hold it to that? Hang on. I've got to.
Do you want to lift to the airport?
I've got everything. Got to make sure I've got every. There's not enough room in your boot, Pauline. Sorry.
No, this is a good scam. Like, basically, you say I don't have undivided dual citizen, and you just you know what? I'm my home country of Canada is where my loyalty lies. Drive me to the airport and buy me a flight. You can go and see your mates and then just come back. Would she drive you back, though? I don't think it's a two-way thing.
She's not going to pick you up. She's not going to pick you up. Pick you up at Mascot and drop you home. I doubt
some of the dumbest fucking shit ever. Anyway, look, of course we need to cover the juicy gossip and the theatrics from the usual dickheads that, of course, compete with each other to be the centre of attention at any given event. Yes, the punters like this. Mm-hmm. You can't deny them the one thing they actually bother listening to us for. Come on. They really,
it's like professional wrestling.
This. It is. It literally is. I've got a bit of a theory on that with the Tony Robinson thing. So Avi Yemeni and Hugo Lennon, the Nepo baby known as Ozpil, the one whose parents have been land banking to increase the cost of land, and yet he has the audacity to say that migrants are the reason why rents are expensive.
There you go.
Thanks, Hughes. He clashed with Avi when Avi questioned Hugo's choice of attire. He was wearing the yachting brand we've discussed many times now, Helly Hansen, which has been worn extensively by NSN members because the HH branding is used as a sort of crappy dog whistle for Heil Hitler. Oh, man, they're going to have a bad time. This is worse than Burberry getting taken over by chavs in England. So Lennon denied being a Nazi at the time, called himself an Australian nationalist, whatever the fuck that means, and generally acted like a little prat. He's a weasel. Patterson wasn't having a bar of his bullshit. Hugo denied the link to Avi between the Helly Hansen and the HH for Heil Hitler. He just likes fucking yachting, bro. Which he probably does because he's a Nepo baby and a fucking asshole. Lennon suggested that Avi Yemeni was actually seeing patterns where they aren't due to schizophrenia, which is just a level of gaslighting we should be used to by now. But hearing him say that was just mate, exactly what's going on here. And you're such a little sociopath that you can say that with a straight face and a sense of conviction. I know you think you're funny, but you're not expressing it because you don't express emotions because the part of your brain that deals with empathy is dead. Anyway,
there you go.
I just fucking hate this kid so much. I hate Nepo babies.
Nick Patterson, the Christian nationalist sort of bouncer. He's kind of a bouncer, isn't he? He's kind
he
of
likes
dormant.
to think of himself as a bouncer, yes.
He does fancy himself in that respect. Was seen escorting Lennon from the crowd. Ooh,
good.
One arm under. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
With his fancy Australian Peacemakers branded. Oh, that beats a Helly Hansen every time.
Oh,
the Australian Peacemakers.
The Helly Hansen you can just buy from the shops. The Peacemakers, that's some rare shit.
That's right. You got to get them printed.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare to see Patterson and Yemeni being the good guys in any given situation, but I guess that's what Nazis have done to the discourse. There was actually sympathy. There was a chant. Go on, Joel. Tell us about the chant.
So Tommy Robinson Yaxley Lennon, who Tommy surnames, as they like to call him, has worked with Rebel News and RV in the past, and they're generally considered friends.
Yeah, used to be besties.
Yeah, well, at least they're colleagues for sure. Rebel News. He started an RV Yemeni's a wanker chant. Yeah. Now, it's hard to know whether this was an actual attack on RV or a friendly joke. I thought that maybe it was the start of an anti-Semitic streak, so I started looking up because old mate Robinson Yaxley Lennon, he's very impressionable.
That's what I
Unlikely. actually. Unlikely, I would say, because Robinson was actually in Israel on a paid trip in October by invitation of the Israeli government. Robinson in the past has questioned the role of Jewish influence in the entertainment industry, but has deleted
He was invited by the Israeli government, is that true?
He was,
or an Israeli sponsor?
No, the government.
Government?
Yeah, give it a Google. There's a good Guardian article about it.
Okay. No, that's why I ask. Yeah.
His article, and this is where this comes from, is titled Tommy's Statement, The Jewish Question, which has since been deleted. And it basically just does the whole thing about, like, Kanye West reckons that Hollywood is run by Jews, and maybe it is. And that's gone. That is gone. And the Guardian article, the Guardian writer couldn't seem to find it. I reckon I could, but that's another story. Look, I just think the irony of having a British headliner at a Put Australia First rally is not lost on me, or probably many other people. I suppose a lot of the attendees probably consider themselves to be proud subjects of the crown, alongside however the fuck that fits in with the idea of being an Australian nationalist. But you go and you listen to Tommy Robinson. He's putting Australia first too. You fucking idiots.
Oh, good on him.
Dumbest shit ever. Look, generally speaking, Put Australia First as a rally was a flop. Monica posted after the event that she was on cloud 9 and posted videos claiming that the event was such a success. Oh, look, God made the rain stop. Those were lies. She was lying. Later,
cracking day for the Put Australia First rally.
Yeah, once the pings wore off, she did a bit of one of those moments of rare honesty on video.
She did.
And
sad to see, really, in a way.
It was pretty funny, actually, and admitted it wasn't a flop. She basically said, and we'll play the clip, but she had a crack at a more mainstream event and it failed. And look, here's the clip explaining how that kind of works or didn't. The Mindstream.
My video got 1.5 million views. I was on 2GB, I was on 3AW, I was on Sky, I was on other channels. And so I assumed there would be more people. And then I realized that now that I'm in the middle on this topic, it's not controversial enough for attention. And I'm used to being controversial. With lockdowns, I was controversial. So I always got the numbers, I always got the attention. This is the first time I've found myself in the middle. And it's like, I feel like I did the right thing. But I think that when you're mainstream, you have to work 10 times as hard to get the attention that controversial people do. And I think that's something wrong with our media and society. So I don't really know what I'm going to do from here, to be honest. I actually don't know if I'm going to do this again.
Now, Frank Chung from News has a different theory. That it's not that it's too mainstream. It's that, Australia's not a nation of racist cookers. It's the messaging was too confusing. He wrote this.
Pauline Hanson-backed rallies in Sydney and Melbourne have drawn a modest turnout, with critics blaming a, quote, confusing grab bag of issues that included immigration reform that preserves, quote, unquote, Australian values, opposition to digital ID, and net zero emissions targets. Well, yeah, that is a bit of a grab bag there.
Isn't it just? So he attributes this sort of sentiment to a tweet on X that is way too long to read, but here's the start of it.
It's very small because the message is confusing. If it was just about saying no to digital ID, the place would be packed. Something is very lost in asking people to agree to a laundry list of beliefs. I am against digital ID, but Australia was never a white-only country, and most people are not racist. So he's got one there.
Yeah, that's nice. This tweet, the basis for this part of the news article, has 5 comments, 1 retweet, and 15 likes. So it's not quite the word on the street. It's just a random tweet.
Yeah.
I don't know
why. Gone viral yet.
I'm not huge on Frank's work. Anyway, so since the failure of her Nazi-free alternative rally, Monica has moved on to opposing the under-16 social media ban. Now, look, this is a popular position in the cooker community, and to be honest, a fairly divisive policy. I have my thoughts on it. You probably have yours. But Monica has a solution. Proton VPN. She has a referral code. Follow this link. Yeah, that's predictable as fuck. And look, if every kid signs up using their pocket money and her link, she might be able to pay some of the money she owes the state of Victoria for refusing their settlement offer.
What is it? Go and get Dad's credit card as well? How's that work?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? It's just bizarre. I think the whole thing is like that she's hoping that the algorithms fuck up and ask adults for ID and they lose their shit.
I did hear, I spent a bit of time on Reddit over the ban because I was sort of covering it, and I did see people were complaining that they had VPNs and Insta was still dumping them.
Yeah, because they know the account's Australian. You
Yeah,
can't just
exactly
suddenly say, "Oh, I'm actually Norwegian."
Hey,
bro.
wait,
Just
wait
kidding.
a minute. I think I might be in Sweden.
Yeah, bullshit. Just complete fucking bullshit.
Sorry. Let's move on.
Yes, indeed. So, look, in other cooking news, good friend of the podcast, David Guru Graham, has gone quiet after it appears he's decided to tap his Medicare card on the buzzer and give Big Pharma a crack.
Time to give it time to give traditional medicine a bit of a go.
It's well overdue. Now, look, we don't want to dwell on this issue too much, and I know that people want to hear about this sort of stuff, but despite agreeing with Guru... disagreeing with Guru and finding his views generally abhorrent, we actually don't wish death upon him.
We do not.
We don't. Hopefully, for the sake of his family, he actually can get that thing on his lip removed, suck down a few courses of chemo, which won't be fun, and then spin some fucking yarn about how he actually flew to Neptune. Elon Musk paid for it, and there was a form of therapy only known to Pleiadian star seeds that he received in an exclusive... It's a med bed or some shit. We all know he's just shit himself and gone to see an oncologist, and hopefully the treatment goes well. I don't...
absolutely.
He's just a fucking idiot.
And I have seen, I haven't seen the Guru for a while, as you say, but the last time I did see him, the enormous tumour on his jaw had been removed.
It looked like it had been lanced.
Chin. Yeah.
But there was still bandages flapping around after that, so I don't know what's going on there. But he did look very bald.
That's
and
the
skinny.
thing with having, sort of cancerous tumours. Once they burst through the skin, it's probably also means that there are a few others under the skin,
flapping
still going. Yes,
yeah, which is a bit of a problem. Also, in cooking news, the ABC has done another look at the sort of woo-woo wanker water club. You can find this in the show notes if I remember to put them in there. It's a 50-50 chance.
Come on, Joel.
I'm trying. It's hard. There's a lot of work. So this focuses on the truly insufferable manosphere types in the MLM club, pushing the idea of financial freedom to tradies and young men. Charming. It also includes a pretty sad tale of a 60-year-old care worker who is taking on extra shifts at work to pay off his debt to Pink loans after making exactly 0 sales, despite pouring his heart out on social media about his past addictions. And this is, of course, encouraged by the predatory shitheads at the Freedom Era MLM funnel who train you to do this bullshit based on this idea you'll make a fortune, run by the absolute shit cunts of Christy X. Ord and Clint X. Morgan.
Terrible people.
Just the fucking worst. And in a fairly sad dose of MLM reality, an anonymous poster posted on the shitposting page 2 images from Freedom Era member Lisa X. Langley, who posted a picture of herself with some luggage at an airport with this somewhat motivational quote.
The reason you're not seeing success yet, it's not the business, it's your belief system. Shame on you.
It's your brain, your shit. Pray harder. Fuck you.
That's right. The caption reads, stop blaming the business model or other people for your lack of results or success. We are the CEO, well, there's just one, of our business and life. CEOs, guys, fuck you, idiot. Yeah, your success is a direct reflection of you and the work you have or have not done on your mindset and belief system.
Yep.
It's just your fault, really. You worthless pieces of shit.
That's kind of the message here, which I'm not sure if I'm feeling motivated or just
I'm not
miserable. No one's buying it.
It's making me feel bad and sad. It's making me feel sad. I have missed a lot of opportunities.
Well, unfortunately,
I am my own worst enemy, Joe.
Actually needs her to work because she has used her platform to draw up some actual productive paid work and asked this of her cloud.
Need your house clean before Christmas? That's what I do. I have a few spots available. DM me. I actually do, Joel. Can you DM me with her field? I wouldn't mind just getting the carpets basically done and
I just know
stuff I'm not going to have time to do myself.
You will leave that engagement with a trifecta. You'll be like, you know what? This turmeric stuff's fucking great. I just had 6 pills just then. I can feel my inflammation's already gone.
More vitamin B6, you say? Why not?
Tell me why not. So it seems like this is the sort of we need to blame our victims for their lack of success phase, which feels like it's kicking in early based on other traits. But when will Lisa start to realize the quote she posted is actually written to gaslight her, not her downline?
Oh.
That's written about you, Lisa. You'll see, mate. Not long now. The coin is going to drop real fucking soon. But speaking of scams, Dave O'Neiggs is still pushing Jamie McIntyre's proposed development project in Bali. And as promised, I am working on a deep dive on Jamie Mac. But my God, there's a lot to take in. I mean, this bloke has pushed out more bullshit than a dairy farm, and I am fucking getting nauseous looking at it. While I feel a sense of deep sympathy for anyone who invests in this latest scam, it's really not hard to Google this bloke's name and discover what he's been up to. Now,
I know.
If you can't see this guy's a con man, like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
That's the thing. I mean, when we look at this, and we will someday look at this in hindsight with the utter collapse, people losing all their money. Right now, what have we got to say about those people who are investing?
It's not hard. It's not hard. Like, he has got a reputation repair thing, and I want to cover that. That's part of the whole web of shit.
It ain't hard to find the stuff about Jamie McIntyre.
It's embarrassing. These are obviously illegitimate websites. They're obviously fake editorials. He's obviously written them himself. They're full of complete nonsense. But of course, the problem is there's one born every minute, and he's so good at finding them. Cookers are a good place to start.
Oh, well, yes.
We fired you, we sacked you, we dismissed you as what? As garbage, because that's all you are. You're a criminal, you're a traitor, and you're going to the biggest barbecue in history. So from Christmas dinner to you are the dinner.
Thank you, that's what I'll go with.
As we record this episode, the Sunday Telegraph, a sister publication of Sydney's Daily Telegraph, reports...
An underground sovereign citizens network with thousands of members is offering fake gun licenses, bogus identification documents, and operating in-house banking networks as experts warn of the group's escalating rhetoric.
Banking. Ooh.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You don't want that. You don't want that.
The clearinghouse is just a fucking room in Bankstown. A Sunday Telegraph investigation can reveal that one of the largest Australian-based sovereign citizen groups, Terra Australis, has been encouraging members to reject all forms of government and operate outside the law. The group, which has more than 4,000 subscribers on encrypted messaging group Telegram, half of them are probably our listeners, across New South Wales and other states, circulates templates for declarations of independence, just like the Björk song, and other pseudo-legal documents used to challenge police, courts, and government agencies. Also, Declare Independence, the Björk song, is a fucking banger. Just say.
Yes, indeed, I can speak for that too, Joel. But the Telly investigation reveals a series of encrypted Telegram messages show Terra Australis members discussing gun licenses, what could go wrong there, and attempting to create their own fake documents to override official ones. This is going to be beautiful. Group members often refer to the teachings of Anna Maria Reisinger, a self-proclaimed judge from Alaska. So, you know, she'll work in Australia, who goes by the name of Anna von Vries and purports to educate people about their stolen freedom.
That's the worst kind of freedom. So, Piesinger once wrote, quote, "I am sick and tired of having people say I am not a judge and asking me, in what sense am I a judge? And coming up with all these silly suppositions and accusations. I am a judge of the actual Alaska state. One of the several states of the continental United States. I occupy the actual public office and operate the actual Alaska State Superior Court."
So in her mind, obviously there are the 50 states, too many, way too many.
There's lots of them.
There are several states of the continental United States. Hawaii, you fucking dead to us?
To be fair, just a corporation.
Anyway, look, she is not an actual public officer and does not operate the actual Alaska State Superior Court.
You sure?
She was a waitress.
Oh, good.
And there's nothing wrong with that, of course.
No, there's not.
Although I don't know if I'd give her the full 20% tip in the US as expected.
But, you know, whatever. I try and do 20. They hear my accent, they get cagey, and you're like, bro, don't worry, I've got you.
Well, I keep getting back to this, and the same thing goes for Reisinger, the Alaskan.
Yeah.
You can't drive on our roads or shit in our sewers if you don't fucking pay for it.
Yeah, there's an issue there, isn't it?
Yeah. Reisinger first came to the attention of US law enforcement in late 2015 by issuing a letter calling for federal agents to arrest President Obama.
Good.
The Congress, not just
a lot of work.
Not just the president. It's going to be a big day in DC.
That is a big day.
And the Secretary of the Treasury for some reason. Well, he would have been there anyway, you know.
Will there be any handcuffs left?
Well, how many, Jesus Christ, we're talking about 500 congressmen, aren't we? More than that.
Something like that. Yeah. It's a lot.
More than that, over 600.
It's a lot.
Anyway, let's move on to some of her associates.
Yes, so one of her disciples, Bruce Doucette, was a self-appointed Superior Court judge for the People's Grand Jury who was charged with a range of offenses in 2016, including violating the Colorado Organized Crime Control Act, attempting to influence a public servant, extortion, retaliation against a judge. Ooh. I mean, he's a judge, so... And criminal impersonation, well, I can see that one. Failure to pay taxes, no-brainer. And offering a false instrument for recording. What, like a fake guitar?
He's just gone full SovCit there, hasn't he? And
he really has.
And then you can see retaliation against a judge. So he's had a crack at a judge, extorted presumably a public servant or servants. Yeah, and the Colorado Organized Crime Control Act, I'd like to have a good look at that. But yeah, he's into that as well because there'd be some decent sentences. And in fact, that's the way it turned up. Doucette, before he became a self-proclaimed judge, was a computer shop repairman. Before he took up judging. He just started looking at people and judging them.
It's a natural progression.
This is it for me. I'll give it a go for me. In 2018, he was sentenced to 38 years jail.
Oh, that's a shame.
Another SovCit winner. He's still doing time there. Is
he still? So he hasn't served his 38 years yet. Oh, that's a shame.
He's what is he looking like? He's looking like 2056 when we next catch up.
He may or may not still be alive. Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. So while our homegrown SovCits tinker away at getting gun licenses under false names and mark their passports in a manner that's bound to cause furrowed brows at borders outside travellers, SovCits just don't travel much. So it doesn't really matter. They don't want their minds to be broadened. It's just concerning. You know, maybe if I meet some ethnics, I might like them and then I won't have anything to rally about the weekend.
Ethnic Alaskans, really. They're limited to that.
They do have their own indigenous population, and I'm sure they hate them very much. So, look, when it comes down to it, they like things just the way they are, which is made up in their own heads. They remain closely scrutinized, not just by local media, of course, but the Sunday Telly is drawing the attention
of... Good piece, good investigative piece. Well done.
Yeah, and this is drawing the attention of law enforcement, across Australian jurisdiction, who have small armies of, sort of black pajamaed, heavily armed wallopers who are pretty keen to fuck these guys up and keep their silly ideas at bay.
They're going to need more and more of them. Well, guarantee you that.
Hopefully not like the sort of ICE recruitment style where they just get any idiot to do it and give them a large gun.
Oh, no, they've got to be, tactical response groups. I'm just saying there'll be more tactical response groups. There will be more training and more highly skilled police as a result of, groups like Sovereign Citizens.
I would imagine
terrorists more generally.
Which is kind of annoying.
And organised crime, I don't know if you saw an arrest just in Revesby, two cars pulled over by the TRG. They used beanbag weapons to blow windscreens out. They dragged away two guys, 18 and 19, who were allegedly on their way to shoot a bloke outside a childcare centre.
Fuck's sake.
The driver of the second car was also charged with conspiracy and that he was plotting to have this guy murdered. Unbelievable stuff. And the most unbelievable stuff is 18 to 19-year-olds being charged with essentially murder for hire type offences.
Fuck yeah. I mean, this is the thing. You don't want to be in a situation where these fuckheads are printing their own gun license because you don't want them having weapons. Like any idea of morons like this, young and old, having guns, it should be a serious concern to everyone. Not just the authorities.
It's the argument. It's one of the arguments, along with Sovereign Citizens. It's one of the arguments that say what you need is more highly specialised, trained tactical response groups in your police, because when you look at crime offenders, anyway, you're seeing this really narrow minority committing the same amount of crime every time.
Yeah. So, and there's also
most of us are law abiding, most of us.
But yeah, there's concern of the nihilism that's coming through.
In terms of violent offending, anyway,
Yeah, but I mean that's tale as old as time. But I think this is a different version of it, and it's concerning. Yeah. And we've seen reasons to be genuinely alarmed in a different way than just your usual scumbag who likes to cause shit. and does on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, look, the telly also reports that much seen, if not much loved, SovCit Helen Delaney received a $1,000 fine for stalking and obtaining information about a police officer. No one who knows who Helen Delaney is surprised by that revelation.
A grand. A grand.
Yeah.
I mean, does the magistrate understand that, look, he could fine her $20 or he could fine her $100,000? It's not going to matter.
A million doubloons. Yeah.
It's not as if she's going to pay it. And
no.
Bloody, I mean, give her a fine by all means, but if she fails to pay, it's got to be jail time. And unfortunately, our system...
That's not a thing. Yeah.
They used to be.
It used to be.
And I'm not saying that people should be going away for traffic fines, but in this case, these particular orders need to be made.
Well, the issue is, it's not that we should reform the law to make fines jailable. We should make sure that these sentences are appropriate. Because I'm sure there was some kind of custodial penalty involved, and they chose to go with the fine because they're naive fuckheads and they don't understand the SovCits properly.
We're not talking about a non-payment of a traffic fine here. We're talking about a conviction for stalking and obtaining information about a police officer.
What would they obtaining the police officer information about? I just wanted to send him a thank you note.
But so he can be fucking harassed by SovCit clowns who hang around with Delaney and others.
Exactly. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad.
A grand just doesn't seem right. And she's caused irreparable harm to her former partner. This is well known, Scott Murrin, and their two sons, of which Murrin has sole custody, as determined by a real court.
Yes,
family court. Murrin continues to face threats from Delaney's groups, but bloody terrible what he and his young blokes have had to put up with. And this is where it ends with SovCits. It's not amusing at all to be on the wrong side of these fuck-ups. Yeah, but we have to turn to the scoreboard, as we always do on SovCits Feed the Man. And we see SovCits running around causing mayhem and paper terrorism until the law finally catches up with them, as was the case with Brucey Doucette doing a 38-year stint.
That's not
good. How cold would it get in a Colorado prison in winter? Oof.
And also state charges, so you can't get Trump to sort you out.
yeah.
You're fucked.
Well, have you got? I think the other question is, Brucey, do you have $1 million lying around? Because that's what it's going to cost you. The scoreboard reads SovCits 0, with the man going soft on these predators until the shit hits the fan. They win, but only just.
Yeah, only just.
I'm a staunch patriot. I love our country. I love our freedoms. I love that in Australia you can be anything that you want to be. There is nothing and no one stopping you from achieving your hopes, your aspirations, and your dreams.
So Pete's been boring as Bitcoin, so it's time for some babble from Babet. Ugh. Scrolling through his Twitter feed is making me dumber by the second, and I find it incredibly difficult to take myself seriously covering the terminally online musings of an accidentally elected idiot. Why do any of us care? It's just a segment I have to fill in at the end of the fucking episode.
Fell ass backwards into the Senate, folks.
It could really get cut. I mean, this guy is not interesting at all. He's watching a lot of Tucker Carlson. Ooh, breaking news.
That doesn't make you interesting.
His current thing is the EU is bad. Cool. Yeah. So he retweeted a post that was recently quote tweeted by Elon Musk with the EU circle of stars flag symbol being peeled back to reveal a swastika. Deep if you're 5 years old.
That's satire. That's parody.
Musk's tweet says pretty much, because he's a man of great insight, richest man in the world. Not quite sure how the EU resembles the Fourth Reich as stipulated by the original tweet in question.
Close to the Soviet Union, really. Anyway.
Yeah, with all their rules. But it may have something to do with the fact that EU fined Musk's social media platform X 120 million euros for several breaches of the Digital Services Act. It always comes back to a tantrum. It always comes back to a self-serving tantrum. He's such a cunt. So Musk has also previously tweeted this, by the way.
Falsely labelling non-violent people as fascist, in inverted commas, or Nazi, also in inverted commas, should be treated as incitement to murder.
Yeah,
he's a big one for reforming our laws, isn't he, Elon?
Yeah,
and always people are getting killed at the end of it.
We clarified earlier that Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, is an idiot. I just want to make sure that everyone is very aware of that. If you were doing the dishes at the time, this is a belief of the podcast we maintain. So Zippy posted a poll that asked this.
Do you believe the official story about who killed Charlie Kirk? How do you have a poll about that? All right, go on.
Yeah, you do. So the no's have it with 72.6% of the vote. 1,072 votes counted. So it wasn't popular. It was just cooked. So the comments are predictably full of anti-Semitic bullshit because, of course, it was Israel. And, of course, you've got your amateur forensic experts claiming that they know all about the trajectory of a 30-6 bullet. But, of course, this is just addiction to counter-narrative. They just want to feel like the smartest person in the room. They've got a theory. Yeah, cool. Oh, I know about guns. No, you don't.
Tyler Robinson is before the courts at the moment.
He
Just
is.
made, I think, his first appearance 2 days ago.
Yeah.
That's all going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of cooked shit around the sides as well. But it's just, we'll see.
Will a criminal trial get us to the truth, or it's the most optimistic prospect we have?
It's the most comprehensive process we could think of. But
yeah,
I mean,
and he's not accepting the death penalty, so he's going to go to trial.
Yeah, and good on him for doing so. Everyone's got a
at least
got a right
it's
due process.
the best way of trying to get to the truth. Might not give us the ultimate truth, but it's the closest thing we'll get.
I'll be shocked if the prosecution brings in a representative of the Israeli government to bring evidence. I'll be slightly shocked. So Babet's Twitter profile explains why he is the way he is, and take that as it comes. It's a showcase of the absolute tripe this man consumes on a regular basis, and none of it's healthy. At this point, his life is clearly based around chasing dopamine hits from outrage bait on the internet, and that's just kind of how he gets a sense of self. Great. I mean, he really is like the lowest common denominator, and I mean that in the most literal sense of the fucking term.
I think there's common agreement across Australia.
He's a fucking embarrassment.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't want to dwell too much on him. I think this segment's going to get cut. I find it kind of pointless to just highlight the string of blatant hypocrisies and contradictions in his beliefs because he just does them without thinking, and we're meant to be like giving a shit. This is just some fucking guy.
Without thinking is fourth gear for Babs.
Oh, 100%. This is just completely normal. But this one is pretty funny, so I'm going to highlight this one. So after moaning about the whole South African NSN member being deported unjustly, claiming that nobody should be deported for their beliefs, well, he posted this cracking tweet on November 29th, obviously after the deportation has happened.
This is November 29. Okay.
This is November 29.
I know I'm early,
You
but
are.
in Australia, we say Merry Christmas and we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. If that's too much for you, flight... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know. You're expecting like grammatical structure.
I'm expecting it to be grammatically
that's
correct.
silly, yeah.
I know I'm early, but in Australia, we say Merry Christmas and we celebrate the birth of baby Jesus Christ. I threw in baby. If that's too much for you, flights leave daily, off you go. See, he's missed a comma. Anyway.
He's an idiot. So look, I guess the NSN is fine. That's okay. But you draw the line at Merry Christmas.
They cancelled Christmas again, Joel. They cancelled it.
If you say Happy Holidays, I'm going to send you to Villawood quicker than you can say Happy Holidays, motherfucker. What an idiot. I don't know why we bother. I think it's going to be He's a fucking moron.
For God's sake, Pete, get back in the ring, man.
I know. Do something.
Can't have too much more of Zippy Babet.
Well, just do an optional
He
end.
is the senator no one cares about.
I just don't care anymore. He's not funny. He's just sad and weird and maladjusted and dumb. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, with that, we do wish our listeners a Merry Christmas. For our patrons, it is not the last time you hear us. You'll hear us.
Oh, fuck no. Oh, we've got so much work to do.
Yes, you'll hear us doing some of our Black Label work, and that's a reminder, folks, that if you want to get stuck into the Patreon, give us a bit of a boost. You can hit it up on www.patreon.com/the Conditional Release Program, or
everyone's
word.com.
But yeah,
and it all sounds terribly difficult, but it's not as hard as you think. And flip us.
And if under 16, get your parents' credit card.
That's right. You go and get if you are under 16, you go and get your parents' credit card right now.
And don't you ask permission. Don't you ask permission. They're just going to say no.
And look, a little later, we'll get in touch with you and look, we'll make some purchases on your behalf.
But we won't get in touch with you on social media because we can't.
I think it's important that we learn from the outset that the social media ban for under 16s is not going to work. So
no, and it's dumb and it's harmful and it's anyway,
and we can lighten your parents' pockets on the basis of that. So they learn, and look, albeit the hard way.
They deserve it for having you. Shouldn't have had you. Simple as that.
I'm not sure that we should be targeting our audience, Joel, with all the swearing you do at under 16s. And conceptually, probably not either, because we're talking about serial murders and then just straight out idiots.
We also reference a lot of shit. Yeah, kids, turn off. Give us your parents' credit card details.
Yeah, go and get the card. Go and get the card. We'll sort the rest out later.
And then we'll have that chat. Also, you can't buy a beer. Switch off. This whole thing is wrong. You need to get off the podcast. We don't want you.
Have a great Christmas, Australia.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
you're listening.
Well, we're gonna.
Be of good cheer. Be aware that there are often empty seats around the dinner table, and that families are not always perfect institutions, and also that some of us are just a little bit lost when we get there.
Yeah. Apply them with ketamine and give them a bed.
So can be a very trying time for people, particularly people who are alone, lonely. You can drop around to Joel's house about 4:00. He'll be drunk by then, and pretty much it's open slather at that point.
Exactly. You can dress like me and I'll be asleep, and you can just be me in the house. It'll be great. So look, Merry Christmas and all that. I am going to try and get an episode out before then, which will probably be a Nazi roundup because God, they've been busy. But yeah, otherwise, good things are coming. And thanks for sticking with us. Appreciate it. It's been a bit of a quiet year, but it's not over yet.
Merry Christmas, folks.
Merry.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.